like a fly guy. I fly high like a magpie. I go high like I'm that guy.
First it was Britney, then Kanye, and now it looks like Justin Bieber might be next. But this time, it's not just his career that's unraveling, it's his mind, his marriage, and maybe even his freedom. Nobody opens Instagram hoping their teenage idol will self-destruct, yet millions now brace for exactly that each time Justin hits post. Over a single spring, he veered from teasing new music to uploading grainy bathroom selfies captioned, "Stop labeling my pain," firing off midnight rants about transactional love and Jean always said the most alarming, screenshotting a ChatGPT query about whether ketamine can shut off emotions. Paparazzi pounce faster than his posts load. One clip shows him shuffling through Malibu in socks, muttering at cameras. The next catches him snapping "back the F off" because, as he growls, he's a dad not to be messed with. The cadence feels scripted by catastrophe. Meltdowns that once surfaced yearly now drop weekly, almost on cue, as though some invisible showrunner demands a fresh crisis every news cycle. Behind the shock headlines lurk quieter red flags. Justin's 2022 battle with Ramsay Hunt syndrome that partially paralyzed his face, lingering Lyme disease fatigue, and an admitted history of depression. Each medical flare-up chips away at creative momentum, turning a studio session into another reminder that his body won't obey like it did at 19. The gap between who he was and who he fears becoming widens, and the world watches the tear in real time. But Justin isn't the only one under that spotlight glare. Long before hashtags or marriage contracts, 15-year-old Justin sang "Baby" on Ellen and watched fandom erupt overnight. Labels scrambled, arenas sold out, and a Canadian kid still struggling with algebra suddenly carried a 9-figure brand. Research shows child stars often develop performance-conditioned self-worth, linking every ounce of value to applause. By 18, Justin's mistakes weren't teenage missteps. They were global scandals, arrests for reckless driving, on-camera apologies, and rehab stints stacked up like cautionary billboards. Therapists call it developmental whiplash, a warp-speed adulthood that skips the messy trial and error most of us make in privacy. Justin's moral compass got outsourced to managers, lawyers, and later, the algorithm. The version on our screens is partly real, partly the Frankenstein creation of millions of opinions simmering in real time. Fame lifted him high. Now the fall is public property. From the outside, Hailey Bieber radiates calm. Sleek Vogue covers, a beauty line just valued near $1 billion, and that curated, clean girl aesthetic. Inside sources say the math is different. Midnight feedings with 9-month-old Jack, road legal filings at dawn, and a husband whose mood can flip before the coffee maker beeps. The shift began when Jack arrived last August. Pre-baby, Hailey toured beside Justin, nudged him toward therapy, and sometimes served as unofficial crisis team lead. Post-baby, her focus split. Every lullaby she sings leaves Justin a minute lonelier with his spiraling thoughts. Critics, however, show no mercy. When Justin's head lolled beside SZA on stage, "Why swears Hailey" trended. If she stays home, she's cold. If she shows up, she's enabling. Even a vulnerable Instagram story, "Therapy all summer," got spun into divorce rumors until she deleted the line. Silence can be deafening, and Hailey's measured quiet now echoes like a scream. Yet the next move she's weighing isn't a heartfelt caption or PR statement. It's legal authority over her husband's entire life. Conservatorship. The syllables alone freeze millennials who watched Britney fight 13 years for the right to buy her own latte. Since the Not Free Britney uprising, California tightened the rules. Assembly Bill 1194 forces judges to demand near bulletproof proof of incapacity before stripping autonomy. Still, legal analysts now speculate that Justin's pattern of volatile posts, erratic sightings, and public health struggles could hit that threshold. One expert told Reality T that 3 pillars decide the case: mismanaged finances, demonstrable self-harm risk, and danger to his child. The first pillar wobbles after he sold his song catalog for $200 million, a move fans debate as savvy or desperate. The second and third pillars grow shakier with every unhinged post, every paparazzi snap, every anxious Reddit thread diagramming his decline. Should a petition land on a judge's desk, Justin might wake to find medical choices, studio bookings, even FaceTime calls routed through Hailey or his mother, Patty. And with stakes that high, some fans believe evidence is being curated on purpose. Why do photographers pop up the moment Justin looks worst? Stumbling into cafes, hoodie half-zipped, eyes bloodshot. To veteran Hollywood watchers, the pattern echoes Britney's pre-2008 breakdown, constant bad optics, serve as future courtroom ammo. Fueling suspicion is Lou Taylor, the business manager once credited with architecting Britney's conservatorship. In early 2024, Justin briefly hired, then fired Taylor, switching to Johnny Depp's financial advisor weeks before selling his catalog. Conspiracy or coincidence? The timeline leaves a sour aftertaste. A known architect of control intersected a vulnerable star, and alarm bells haven't stopped ringing. Industry insiders whisper about handlers, disguised as entourage, paparazzi given tip-offs from someone inside the camp, and crisis PR experts who profit when a famous life teeters on chaos. Whether orchestrated or organic, the result is the same. The public gets a 24/7 highlight reel of Justin's darkest moments, and courts gain a scrapbook of dysfunction. June 7th. Black and white selfie, caption "Quit asking if I'm okay," plus a screenshot of a flaming text feud with an unnamed friend. June 10th. A multi-slide story quoting Corinthians on forgiveness, and pivoting to fiery criticism of false loyalty. June 13th. That ketamine ChatGPT screenshot and a blurry studio pic titled "Searching." Combine those with past revelations. The 2020 docuseries where Justin admitted suicidal ideation. The 2022 Ramsey Hunt paralysis that forced tour cancellations. And psychologists point to classic hypomanic spirals: sleepless, creativity, spiritual grandeur, impulsive oversharing. Fans split between empathy and meme culture. One user comments, "Bro's feed looks like a freshman philosophy notebook," gathering 40,000 likes. Algorithms reward the snark, pushing edgy takes higher while drowning quieter pleas for compassion. The internet becomes a coliseum where every raw emotion turns to gladiatorial content. Insiders say the domestic loop never changes. Hailey schedules therapy, Justin attends once, then ghosts. She begs for a drug-free weekend. He replies the studio is his sanctuary. Even Mother's Day felt off. Justin's tribute, a single soft focus photo, drew comments calling it underwhelming and low-key shade. Hailey's own post hinted at heavy healing. Then the therapy mention vanished after tabloids pounced. Meanwhile, the discourse turns gladiatorial. One camp screams, "Leave him, you're a billionaire now," citing reports that Rhodes' valuation tops $1 billion after recent venture rounds. Another begs, "Stay, he'll crumble without you." Strangers tally Instagram likes as if marriage were a public poll. For two exhausted 30-somethings, that noise is less Greek chorus and more relentless drum beats stressing already frayed nerves. Zoom out and the cycle sharpens. Prodigy rockets to fame, entourages shield against bad vibes, moral feedback disappears, destructive habits metastasize. Britney, Amanda Bynes, Wendy Williams. Even Kanye's spirals follow the script. Industry veterans confess the soft exploitation, a lucrative chaos where every relapse spikes clicks, every apology tour pushes streams, every rehab ad spin sells ads. Justin's circle has historically included pastors, skateboard buddies, and managers who double as lifelong friends. But insiders say yes, men still outnumber truth tellers. When money flows freely, the first casualty is honest feedback, and mental illness loves a vacuum of accountability. Fame might amplify pain, but it also funds escape routes, private clinics, sober coaches. What's missing is the willingness to pause revenue and actually use them. Legal scholars outline the cage. Justin could lose authority to sign contracts, choose a doctor, or even stream on Instagram without conservator clearance. Tours would need judicial approval. Studio time might require medical supervision. Worst case, visitation with Jack hinges on therapist reports proving medication compliance. For Hailey, guardianship is a poisoned chalice. She'd control spending down to coffee runs, but shoulder every misstep. Deny a purchase? She's abusive. Approve too many? Exploiting. Annual court reviews ensure paparazzi feast on each report. Britney called her guardianship a glass coffin. Justin, who equates music with breath, could find his studio sessions scheduled by strangers. Historically, conservatorships last years, sometimes decades. Exiting requires legal battles, medical evaluations, and crucially, solid evidence that the court's original fears were wrong. In other words, once inside, escape is hard. Three forks loom: rehab and reset. Justin vanishes into a 6-month residential program, emerges clear-eyed, drops a raw comeback album about survival. It's the redemption arc streaming platforms love. Legal lockdown. A viral incident tips public opinion. Hailey files for safety. A judge signs off and Justin spends his 30s under scheduled visitation and court-approved creativity. Continued freefall. No intervention sticks, cryptic posts intensify, and tabloids ride the slow-motion crash until fans stop refreshing. Or worse, until tragedy forces a reckoning. Mental health advocates push a fourth option: compassionate distance from the audience. Stop sharing every stumble. stop reposting the worst clips. Pressure labels to fund real treatment instead of crisis PR. In the UK, charities like Mind and Calm list 24-hour helplines. In the US, 988 can be dialed in suicidal crisis moments. But hotlines can't compete with hashtags, unless fans choose to amplify help instead of humiliation. We're not just watching a pop icon shatter, we're watching a mirror held to how modern fame monetizes vulnerability. Justin doesn't need another paparazzi flash or doom scroll meme. He needs a circle willing to pause profits, enforce rest, and guard his head the way he once guarded chart positions. Hailey doesn't need a judge's signature to prove love. She needs partners strong enough to fly while she patches her own wings. Most of all, we, the collective spectators, need to remember the pixels we joke about represent real pulse rates, real toddlers who don't read tabloids, and real young adults who never asked to grow up on camera. Because the scariest question isn't whether Justin Bieber will end up like Britney. It's whether we'll keep letting the same nightmare rerun while clapping from the cheap seats and calling it entertainment.